Thank you everyone for joining us for Webinar Wednesday. Today we will be looking at creating users and projects in GeoSync GO Plus. This is a continuation of the management series of GeoSync GO Plus. There are, revisit the apps here, of the apps that make up GeoSync Go. We have GeoSync Go Mobile, GeoSync Go Desktop, and today we're looking at GeoSync GO Plus. As shown here, GeoSync GO Plus is a web-based app. It is available on iOS, Android, and Windows devices. The first thing you'll have to do, obviously, is sign into the application. There are two ways that you can get to the application. One is to actually download GeoSync GO Plus app on your iOS, Android, or Windows device, actually install the app, or you can use a browser. We recommend using Chrome. It's the best experience for this application by using the web URL listed here, the geosyncgo.com/go. When the app opens, you'll first come to the username, the sign-in page, where you will enter a username and password. If you do not have a individual username and password, you can use your GeoSync GO Plus account password, the master password at your account ID, and the password that's assigned with that. You will need to sign in as an administrative user to make these changes. Once you sign in, you'll come first to the sign-in screen, or the home screen. This is where typically you would select a project to open and view a map. And in this case, we actually want to go to the administrative tools, so you would need to select the account option at the bottom right. Upon clicking that, you will go to the management tools. And today, as I mentioned, we will be looking at creating users and projects. The users tools allow you to create users, assign rights to those users, the rights they have in the project, and you can also go back and edit those users if need be. The users, when you first log in, you will come to the management tools screen where you have access to all of the different management tools. Of course, today we want to, first we'll look at the users. To get to the users menu, you select the users command, user button. Once you click users, it will take you to the users. Now, an option to this: if you are using a device that has a portrait view, like we see here, you'll have to get to the user screen a little differently. First, you'll notice it looks a little different. You'll have a menu button here at the top left. You select that, and then you'll see the tool menus. You would select users from there. So I'll back up. Your screen, if you're landscape, it'll look like this. If you're set up a portrait, you'll have a couple extra steps to get to the users. It's just a different way it looks on different devices. Once you get to the users, once you select users, it takes you to the main users menu. The main users menu is a list of the users that have been created for this account. You'll see a username, login, the user's email, and then basic information on their rights. All of these users we see now are all administrative, and the owner, one of them is actually the owner of the account. That would be your user for your master user for your account. And you'll even see that some could be disabled. Now, to create a new user to add to this list, we select new. From there, the user menu opens to a menu specific for an individual user. In this case, it's a brand new user. We'll fill in the name. Now, the name is the display that you'll see. It's not necessarily the login login, user login. It's the username display. In this case, the user login, we've set that as mapsync.jo for Joe user. Now the logins, you need to be cautious on creating those. You want them to be specifically, you want the users to identify not only the username but your organization. All of these users, you can't reuse a user login. So if I use Joe, if there were another Joe entered in the GeoSync GO system, even on a different account, it would not be available. So you have to be a little specific about the username. And we typically recommend that you have some type of identifier for your organization and the individual person. So in this case, Joe user is part of the MapSync group, so the login is mapsync.jo. You also will enter the user's email address and assign a password. The passwords have to be at least 6 characters and include both alpha and numeric. You have to have letters and number, and at least one number. You also have the option for this user to set it as disabled. In this case, Joe user is disabled at the moment. We don't want to let him use this just yet. Maybe we're trying to set up the user and test things out before we actually let him use that. So I've set Joe user as disabled for the moment. Once you've made the entries to save this, there is a save button at the bottom right. Upon clicking the save button, it will take you back to the main user screen, and you'll notice that Joe user is now in the list. We see Joe user, his login name, or his login and ID, and his email. And of course, you notice Joe, I've not let him be an administrator. Of course, he's not the owner. The owner is the master account. It is disabled. So if we needed to change that, we need to make some changes to Joe user. If we want to enable his account or make him an administrator, change an email, change the password, you simply select that user and click Edit. It'll take you back to that individual user setup screen. You can make changes, save, and once you save, it comes back to this primary user screen. That's really all there is to setting up a user for the account. Now, these users are specifically set up for this account. When Joe logs in with mapsync.jo with his password, it comes directly to this MapSync account and a user with rights to certain projects and data. The next management tool that we'll look at in the list would be creating projects. The projects tool allows you to create map projects, to edit the map projects, the content, settings, capabilities, and it lets you create and manage and edit projects. Projects are, in GeoSync GO Plus, are your map, if you will. You specify what the map is, what the content is, who can use it, that type of thing. So we'll look at the account management tools screen. When you log in, when you first get to the management tools screen, the projects group is at the right on the screen. You select projects. It takes you to the master project screen. Similar to the users screen, you do have a list of the projects in this account. Of course, you have a name. You can actually give names to the projects to identify them, make them easier to find. The alias is the project ID. Each project has a unique ID where we can track the project and everything that's connected with it. It does show you the minimum, maximum zooms, whether or not it has public access, and if the project is available, disabled or not. To create a new project, again, similar to the users, you select New. That opens up a new project screen. This is a project screen specifically that's unique to that project. It's its own project settings for project. In this case, we created a new project, gave it a name of MapSync Village. This name is a display. It's not an ID. It's the display name. So it can have spaces and characters, however you want to describe that project by name. The alias is the project identifier. Programmatically, it's stored in fields and all that. It's in the database. It's a project ID field. That is automatic. This one can get a little more detailed. We'll look at using other aliases when we begin the sessions on creating workflows. That will change a little. But when you create a new project, it will automatically assign an alias for that project. That can be changed for other workflow needs. But for the time being, we'll utilize the default name. The next line in the General tab, you have several tabs available for setting up this project. This is the general information, the project name. This line, second line, has to do with the initial view when the project starts up. The latitude and longitude, basically where the map is centered and what zoom level the map starts at. You can go in and edit these lat and long and the zoom tool, the zoom level manually, or if you select the choose option, another dialog opens with just a standard street view type map where you can pan the map and zoom in to your area of interest where you want the map to start up using the zoom plus minus and pan the map. So you basically get this map where you want your project map to start, and simply at that point, once you've got to where you want it, you click close. On clicking close, it takes you back to your project setup screen. All of your lat and long coordinates are entered and your zoom level. The next line are your minimum and maximum zooms for the project. This minimum zoom is set by default at 8, and so that means my math, the furthest I can zoom out will be zoom level 8. My maximum zoom for the project is at this point is 18. These are slider bars. You can slide the handle, the dot, left and right to utilize the zoom level. The next options are public access and disabled. Public access, if you want this project available to the public, to anybody, you can actually select. You can turn on public access. What that does is that publishes, or that makes the map available to anyone. Even you would not have to have a user login or password to get to this map. The disabled is just that. We can actually click on this box. It disables the project. Nobody can get to it. Like I'm working on it. I don't want anybody there yet. If I select the public access option, more options show up related to the public access. It gives you the path. This you don't have to worry about. This is automatic. It's basically lists the information for the location of the map project. You have the option of adding a description. In this case, we've entered MapSync Village map created for the webinar Wednesday. You do have the option of using a passphrase. Now, you don't have to have a user to log in this when it is a public map. But if you want for the public to get to it, and anybody on the internet with an internet connection to get to this, you can add a passphrase if you like, or not. Another option here is whether or not it is listed in the GeoSync GO public map project. If I have this map set to unlisted, in this case, for someone to find this public project, they would have to know the actual name, search for the actual name of the project. It's not just going to show up. They have to type it in exactly to access it. It won't show up in the list of public maps. So the next, as I set that, the next set of information in the project is the users, which users have access to this map project. simply select the users group here, the list in gray. There's a drop down. It shows all of the project or all of the users, the current users for this account. So you select the user, click the plus sign, it adds them to the list below. Once the users are in the list, then you can set the rights that they have. In this case, Todd, I have full rights to do everything in the project. Joe, I gave him the rights to view linked media, where we have linked photos, videos, and the like. He can actually add media or images to features, and has the ability to delete media from a feature. The second line is for forms. If we have inspection forms as part of this map, in this case, I did not have it turned on, so Joe User cannot do reports. If I turn it on, then he can. To remove, if you have users in a project, you want to go back and remove them, you simply come to this page, click the X for the user, and it removes that user from the list. So again, select the user here, the add button, because the user appears in the list, you set that user's rights, and you're good. So the next thing we want to look at is which layers we have available in this project. It's similar to adding users. You have a selection drop down. You drop this gray box down, and there will be a list of all the layers that have been created for this account, not just the project. You actually set up layers, and we get the layers in another webinar, but the layers that have been created for this account. I select which layers I want to use in this project, and in this case, you select the layer, click the plus, click the add button, it adds that layer to the list. In this case, we've got fire hydrants, water towers, code enforcement, and our building structures. Similar to the users, and if you want to remove a layer that is in the list, simply click the X, and it takes that layer out of the project. So the next item we want to look at is tile sets. That's your background map, imagery, that type of thing. Any tile sets that have been created or added to the account, you can select from the drop-down, click the Add button, and it adds that tile set to the list. Common theme here. In this case, we have the MapSync Street Map and the Kentucky Base Map as the two tile sets that we can choose from. And again, if you have a tile set listed that you do not want to use, simply click the X, and it will remove that tile set from the list. The next item we need to consider are our searches. We have the drop-down is a list of all the searches that have been created in this account. Again, not necessarily the project, but in the account. So I click the drop-down, select the search that I want to include in the project, hit the plus sign or the add button, it adds that search to the list. And again, with the other settings, if there is a search that I don't want to use, click the X and take it out of the list. Now, all these settings that we've done have not been saved yet. We're in progress. They haven't been saved. So the project really doesn't exist yet until we click the Save button at the bottom right. Once you click the Save button, it will save all the settings, save this project and all the settings that we've made. And it will return you to the main projects menu. And you'll see our MapSync Village project is now in the list, or now listed. If I want to make changes to that project, add more layers, add or remove layers, users, or tile sets, I essentially select the project from this list, click Edit. We go back to the individual project setup screen. And once I save those, I would come back to this screen. So now to get to my project to view it, I go to the menu options at the top right, and I have two options. I can sign out of the account and then sign back in as another user. Say I want to test Joe user's account. I could sign out and sign in as Joe user and check it that way. Or I can simply go to the home screen. At that point, it will take me back to the sign in, the home screen. Then I could select my MapSync Village project and open that map project. That is the end of today's webinar. Thank you for joining us, and I hope this information was helpful.